Welcome to a fashion doll shoes tutorial. As this is the first of the new series of videos, I need to point out that these videos are meant for adults because the techniques I'm using are mostly too difficult for children, and also some of the tools and materials are not safe for children to use. In this first video I'm going to show you how to make latex molds for making castings of dolls' feet. And you don't necessarily need castings. You can use the doll to make shoes, but if you've got a really big doll, it's much easier to use a casting like these plaster castings of Miss Piggy's feet. She's a 16-inch doll, so it's definitely easier to use just the castings than the entire doll. And also you can be sure that you're not staining your doll with glue or paint or other materials you're using when you use castings instead of the original doll. And I have examples here, those plaster castings, and then these are resin castings of a 17-inch doll's feet. And I really like resin castings better because they are more durable. The plaster castings, they work fine for some time, but when you use them they get dirty and they can make white streaks in dark materials. So the resin castings are definitely better, although they are a bit more difficult to make, and well, making them costs a little more. And these castings were made with these molds, and these are just for making shoes. If you want to make boots, you need to make longer mold. This is for a 16-inch ball jointed doll, and the mold goes all the way up to the knee. I noticed that my hands were going off the frame, so I tried to fix the view a bit, so hopefully it's better now. And let's put these away, so we'll get some room here. The doll I'm going to use is a small one, this tiny Betsy, and I'm using her because it's easier to get her into the picture than some 16-inch doll. And the first thing you need to do is remove the clothes, because otherwise you're going to stain them. That latex, it goes everywhere. So if you're allergic to latex, do not even try this, because you can't avoid touching the stuff. The materials you need for making the mold is, of course, latex. This is the one I'm using, but there are several different brands, and you can use any liquid latex that is meant for making tubular molds. And tubular, well, it just means this. It needs to be for making tube-like molds, because the ones that I used for making molds for items with flat back, they are too thick and they don't stretch enough, so you may tear the mold if you use that kind of latex. And you need a brush, and you're going to ruin the brush. That's inevitable. It happens no matter what you do. You can't get all the latex off the brush. I can show you. These are cheap plastic brushes, and the yellow one is brand new, never used. And this black one is the one I've been using lately for latex. And this is what happens, and it's only going to get worse. So get cheap brushes and be prepared to throw them away after using them for a few molds, something like 5 or 6. Then after that it's going to be practically unusable. And you will need baby powder. This is for the removal stage, when you remove the molds from the doll's feet. And you can get this from any grocery store that sells diapers. There will be baby powder, and it's cheap, so it doesn't cost much. Latex will be more expensive. This one was 10 euros 40 cents, and it has 300 milliliters of latex. And that's what it costs in Finland. You'll probably get it cheaper somewhere else. We have horrible prices. Alright, and the first step is to open latex. And you usually have first this cap and then another one. This is supposed to keep this airtight, but it doesn't work quite that way. Like the latex I'm using, it's starting to get thick, but it's still usable. And then you just apply the latex to the doll's feet and use a brush. There's some of the instructions tell you to dip the object into the latex, but if you do that, the coat of latex will be uneven. And the first coat just needs to cover all the areas around the legs and feet. It doesn't need to be thick, because it doesn't get very thick at this point. The first coat it's there to cover everything, and then when you apply later coats, they will be thicker because there's this one coat of latex. One coat of latex under, and the new latex will stick to that. So, and it can look scary if you're making the molds for a very expensive doll. But I've done this for vinyl and resin dolls, and there has never been any problems. It's easy to remove the molds, and there are absolutely no traces that you have ever even done this process. And then you just need to leave it to dry. Place the doll so that the parts with latex won't touch anything. The legs, they mustn't touch each other, and they mustn't touch any surfaces. Oh yes, one very important thing. Clean the brush. Wash it immediately after using it, because the latex, it dries quickly, and when it's dry it's going to be really hard to remove from the brush. It's now 15 minutes later, and as you can see, the latex is almost dry. And at this stage you don't need to wait it to dry all through. You can see here this white, it's not entirely dry, but when you're adding new layers, it's enough that the surface is dry, and then you just add more latex. There you put, it's 2 or 3 coats is usually enough, especially for a small doll like this. If you got really doll with really big feet, it's better to use 4 or 5 layers of latex, so the mold will keep its form better the thicker it is. But for a small doll like this, 3 coats is quite enough. So you just make sure you got latex all around. Okay, now it's time to let it dry again, and I'll be adding a 3rd coat, and then we'll get back to what happens after that. It's now a couple of hours later. I applied the third coat of latex about 20 minutes after applying the second one, and then I let the latex dry properly, and when it's dry it's transparent. In this case it becomes yellow, but there are brands of latex that's clear when it's dry, but the main thing is it's transparent, so it's totally dry. And then you need to remove the molds. For that you need the baby powder, and let's see, it opens this way. And you can apply it either by using your hands or by using a brush, and I'm using a brush because my hands are already dry because of the freezing weather, so I don't want them dry anymore, so I'm using the brush to spread the powder all around a little bit more. Yeah, and the purpose for this powder is to stop the surfaces from sticking together when you remove the mold. And now removing it means you just first you need to turn the upper part this way, and then you just roll it down, and when you come to the heel part, do not pull. If you pull it you may tear the mold, so just roll it around the heel and remove it entirely. And then it's this small piece, you can just pull it so, and then turn it the right way around by taking a blunt stick like a brush, put it in the top part, and then just roll it, and it turns the right way round. And the second one, same thing, just roll it down and over the heel and away, and straighten it. In fact, you can turn it the right way around at this stage. Just put the brush in there and then roll it, and now it's ready. And what you need to do now is let them be for a couple of days so the molds dry properly, and then they are ready for use.